they've locked themselves into a 5-year mortgage. And essentially what would happen at that point is when you are essentially looking to finance your new build, that new build construction, that new mortgage, that finance company, that lender wants to be in first position. And so what they'll do is they'll want you to pay out that existing mortgage.
Hey everyone, it's Lawrence Mack here from Remax Realtor. I'm here with Eric Mann from Eric Mann Mortgages. Thanks for joining me today.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. Today we're going to go talk about a custom new build. So a lot of people have asked me, instead of, for instance, selling my existing home and buying like a nice new home, what does it take to build a completely new home and demolish the existing one? And so hopefully today Eric will be able to tell us about all that's required in terms of the financing point of view.
Yeah, definitely. So it's been a very popular type of mortgage. Essentially, it's called a construction progress draw mortgage, and it's there to help people whether they want to tear down their existing home or whether they have a property in mind and are looking to tear down that home and build up like a brand new house. And so essentially, it's offered by all types of lenders. It's offered on the A side, on the B side, and in some cases, if it's required, it's also offered through private lending. But there's quite a few different things that are to be considered when requalifying. Essentially, what banks want to do is be in first position when buying the property. And essentially, the best case scenario is if you already own the property outright. That gives you a lot of flexibility in being able to finance all the rest of the financing. And when I mentioned before, it was a progress draw. And so what that means is what they're going to do is they're going to give you draws progressively through the actual build. And so what will happen is they will split it up typically within 4 to 5 different phases and then give you money every step of the way once the certain phase is completed. What the banks and lenders will do is that they will allow the money, they will be given to a lawyer in the lawyer's trust account, and essentially from the beginning there would be a application, and the application usually does incur a fee anywhere from around $700 to $1,200 depending on the lender that you're going with. And what that application fee includes is all the different appraisals that are going to happen every step of the way. And so when you do have a mortgage on that property, what that does is it limits your buying power, your ability to finance more of the actual build, because a big chunk of that, your debt to service ratio, your income is being used up by that existing mortgage. But like I said, the banks want to be in first position. So if you are going to be in the market for buying a future house where you do plan to tear that house down and build up, then take that into consideration when you are buying that house, that you're not locking yourself into a 5-year mortgage, and you're taking into consideration the fact that you are going to be building maybe within the next 6 months to a year, maybe considering an open mortgage or a 1-year mortgage, depending on the timing.
So back to the progress draw. So hypothetically, if it's like $1 million you need to build a new house, it'd be divided into maybe 4 or 5 different progress draws. So let's just say 5 draws of $200,000 each.
That's right, yes.
And then can all of these 5 draws be financed, or do you have to typically come up with like some of it yourself?
Well, yeah, like I was mentioning before, it all depends on the ratios and how much of the value of the property, essentially the proposed value of the property is going to be used up by the actual amount that you're borrowing. And so if you have things where you own the property outright and you don't have and you're using a smaller loan to value, then essentially yes, it could be all financed. But if you do it all depends on your debt to service ratio and how much of your income is being used up by this mortgage.
Oh, that's great. And then, so you did mention before, which I thought was very interesting, in that you have to be careful about, if this is your plan, at least for the short term, you have to make sure you don't lock yourself into some type of mortgage where you're paying an excessive penalty.
That's right, yeah. So I've run into situations in the past where people have found that property and in being eager to buy the property, they don't look at the conditions when they're buying their house, and then they don't realize that they've locked themselves into a 5-year mortgage. And essentially what would happen at that point is when you are essentially looking to finance your new build, that new build construction, that new mortgage, that finance company, that lender wants to be in first position. And so what they'll do is they'll want you to pay out that existing mortgage and either include it into your new mortgage or pay it out outright from your own funds. And in most cases, most people will want to add it to their existing mortgage, but at that point, if it is in the middle of a term, then you are facing penalties.
Okay, so you just have to plan ahead a little bit.
Exactly right.
And back to another question is just about the type of builder that could be used. So can we just use any builder for this type of financing, or is this some...
Well, there are definitely programs out there. CMHC and Genworth and Canada Guarantee all have approved contractors that they've worked with in the past that have a proven track record of being reliable. And also the really great thing about them is a lot of times that they will work in situations where they know that this is the type of mortgage that you're doing. You're doing a progress draw mortgage, and since they are approved by the CMHC or Genworth or Canada Guarantee, then they will work and they know that they're going to be paid eventually once the progress draw, and so that gives them the incentive to know either to finish your work and to finish it in a timely manner, and also to stay on that list. They need to be reliable, and they need to be a company that has, like I was mentioning before, a proven track record of doing good work. And because Canada Guarantee and Genworth and all the and Genworth and CMHC don't want to advertise companies that are not good, right?
And then the lenders will bring in like an inspector or appraiser during each phase?
Yes. So as I was mentioning before, when you pay for your application, you're paying for all the appraisals up front. And so every step of the way, once you reach the certain level, a certain step of the end of the phase, then you would go to the lawyer that is handling everything, and then they would essentially reach out to the bank, and the bank would initiate the next appraisal, and the appraiser would come out and inspect and make sure that all the conditions have been met for that particular phase, and then approve the next phase, and then that's when money is given out.
Oh, sounds pretty complicated, but hopefully we have an expert to help guide you for that particular.
Yeah, it sounds like a complex, but if you find a really good mortgage agent or mortgage broker that has experience in it, then it won't be complex. They'll hold your hand every step of the way, make sure that you know and you're prepared for every single obstacle.
Hey, well, there you have it. So if you do want to do a custom new build for your own house, talk to Eric Main.
Happy to help.
Hey, thank you. Bye-bye.